This concept is especially important when you're a smaller person against a larger person, okay? Now, if you can handle this dynamic, smaller person versus larger person in a striking environment, you're really onto something. Because you're at such a disadvantage due to a concept called reach. He can hit me where I cannot hit him, right? This is huge when it comes to striking. So let's move this way a touch. We have this gap between us. And we measure the gap based upon the taller person's back leg front kick. So I feel like right about here, if Luke does a front kick right from there, he's just a little bit out of range. Which means that he's really out of range for me. This makes the gap larger than normal for me. So now, here's what we want to talk about today. We talked about entering concepts, how to get through the gap yesterday. And today we're going to talk about once you accomplish an entry, you need to have pressure. So that means that if I'm able to go through the gap and I go boom and I'm one move and I'm out, I didn't maximize the moment where I could reach him. If I put myself in a distance where I can do stuff that reaches his body, I gotta put him on defense and I gotta stay there for an extended period of time, do more than one thing, because this is so difficult to solve. If I can solve it, I need to stay in that tighter range longer. And the idea is pressure. So let's say we're through the gap. Boom. I need to do more than one move, more than 2 moves, 3 moves. If I do one move, the fact that I'm doing one move and having the big gap, he's probably gonna block it almost all the time. The second move though, is like 50% more likely to get him. The second move is where it's at. Then the third move is even more likely to get him than the second move. And then the fourth move is like money. 5th move, 6th move. You stay on him, you don't let him out of the trap. That makes sense? So, once we're through the gap, right? We go boom, 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 boom. We stay on him, we don't let off of them. To go from a gap, a distance, if I start with a kick and he backs up, boom, the gap is still big. So the problem with doing kicks early on is I'm using my legs for kicks rather than transportation. The gap is so big, I need a transportation system. So I use my legs for transport rather than kicks. Which means that when I go through the entry, I'm not relying on my kick too much to get me from point A to point B. I want to use my legs for getting me from point A to point B. So let's say I'm through the gap. I don't want to start kicking right away. I want to start using hands because my transportation system is needed for pressure. And as the pressure drives and he goes back, you can end with a kick as he's retreating. If you use the kick too early, separation occurs and the gap returns and you're back to square one. That make sense? All right, so once you're in range, go for it. Don't use too many kicks. Use hands as your primary entry mechanism. Do a few hand techniques, end with a kick if you're gonna kick. So in nature, we have the predator and the prey. The prey doesn't eat the predator. If things don't go well, the predator just doesn't get the prey. But the prey does not attack and take home the predator, right? So, in sparring, there tends to be the predator and the prey. In self-defense, there's the predator and the prey. Now, if you take the prey, that role, and you accept that role, you're not gonna win. You're taking the losing position. The predator is either gonna win and have you for dinner, or they're not gonna win, but they don't really get beat up. That's the role they take. So in sparring, we don't wanna have the prey mentality. In self-defense, we don't wanna have the prey mentality. We wanna have the predator mentality, right? So if we're moving around and this person is stalking me, right? Hajime, he starts pressing and I'm backing up. He's pressing, I'm backing up. Who's the predator, who's the prey? Who's the predator, who's the prey? Well, we know he's the predator, I'm the prey. This happens, and it's very difficult when somebody puts the pressure on you. So the antidote is you change roles. He starts pressing. I'm like, I don't like this. Boom, boom, boom. I just attack that person, and I go, I'm the predator, you're the prey. And as soon as we go again, I'm just taking it to him. I pressure the pressure. You've got to do that, or you've got to circle. You need a strategy so that you're not the victim, you're not the prey. You become the predator. Thanks. It reminded me as I was talking. When my wife and I first got married, we had babies, like little babies, and I'm teaching martial arts during the day, and she's at home with the babies, and we lived in this condominium complex with multiple stories, and the group that was above us, they were a little raucous. They'd have fist fights on the balcony. I mean, it was a rough crowd up there. So we were just a little apprehensive about our living situation because of the violence that was kind of surrounding us, and we got these little babies, and it was just, I don't know, it didn't feel good, right? One day I'm at home, I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and the little baby, and we're just having a good time, and somebody opens our front door and starts walking into the house. So instantly, I'm the predator. I'm not the prey. I get off that couch and I start heading for that guy like I mean business. Like I mean business. And he was looking down, there's like a couple of them. They were looking down and they looked up and they saw me coming and they went, whoa! They were in the wrong house. They thought they were at the house upstairs. They had missed the floor. It was a complete accident. But instantly we knew who the predator was, we knew who the prey was, and he got the message really fast, and he realized there was an accident. Now as soon as he goes, whoa, 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 I'm able to calm down too, right? But it was only gonna go one direction. If it was up to no good, it was only gonna go one direction. At least that's how my mentality is. They're done. There's no other way it's gonna go down. You don't come into my house unannounced unless there's gonna be it's gonna go in one direction, right? So, same thing when it comes to sparring. You have to have that approach. Pressure to pressure, otherwise you're the victim. Okay, I'll give you guys bonus, secret details. You ready? We're gonna take a little linkage from yesterday's lesson and today's lesson and combine them. So this is not part of the normal lesson, this is just bonus for you guys and whoever watches the media someday in the future. So, entries with pressure, a couple sweet spots. When somebody has crisscross stance in negotiation, would you model that for me? Yeah, he does that and we keep circling, you keep walking like that. He keeps crisscrossing his stance like this, right? So when his stance is there, freeze, reverse one step. When his stance is like this, you should not attack. He's in a stance. Take the next step. Freeze! This is a great time to attack. He's in essence tied his stance up so as you attack with pressure, he doesn't have a posture in which to receive it. Little caveat, little nuance. This works great against most people. There are a few people, usually have a Taekwondo background, that this is maybe not such a good idea because when they crisscross their legs, they're ready to spin back kick you. And when you charge, they're like just waiting for you, right? So watch out for spins. If you're against somebody who's really talented at spinning, it could be a trap, so be wary of that. But most people, that's green light. Let's negotiate, do it wrong, please. This is green light attack, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light. Attack on green light. That's your moment. Now, if they're a mile away and they're doing the bad footwork, it doesn't matter. You're too far away. Only if you're normal operating distance. This is your cue. You know when to attack and you know when to pressure them. You run them right to the floor. They'll be falling over, right? They cannot fight when they're falling over. Next, secret detail. You ready? When you are working with somebody and when you start your approach, they have defensive posture that looks like this. They react by lifting their front leg up. So when you start to feint like you're coming in, they do that, like they're gonna give you a kick. It's a beautiful time to attack somebody. When you are on your transportation system and they leave theirs on the first collision, here's the thing. They've got one shot to make it work. They gotta be perfect with that front leg. And if they're not perfect, you just run them right over. So when you're like this, boom, and they lift that leg, boom, they lift that leg, boom, you lift that leg, boom, you lift that leg, and you just run them right over. They're not on their transportation system. You flatten them, you press them right out of the ring. They can't do much in response to you. All right, those are two great times to add pressure.